I love a countdown. Keeping track of the number of days until an exciting moment, watching the numbers tick down with anticipation. Each year growing up, I counted down the number of days until I could go back to summer camp. Last week, many of us awaited the countdown to Artemis II's launch to the moon. Maybe some of you are counting down the days left in the school year, or until something else you're looking forward to, or perhaps counting time in a little bit of a more stressful anticipation towards an important deadline. We also have a kind of countdown going on in Judaism right now, but we're not counting down days. Instead, we are counting up. It's the Omer, the 7-week period between Passover and Shavuot, where we count each day until we reach 49 days. There are some different elements to the Omer and what it represents. Historically, as our holidays connected to the agricultural cycle, it began on the second day of Passover when 1 omer of barley that was newly harvested was brought to the temple. And then we counted up to 49 until the wheat was harvested. The Omer is also the spiritual journey from redemption to revelation, from freedom from Egypt at Passover to receiving the Torah at Sinai on Shavuot. The Kabbalistic, mystical side of the Omer revolves around a personal, introspective journey connected to traits called Sefirot. During the Omer, there are 7 divine traits that we are tasked with exploring and using as a framework for spiritual introspection. Just like barley is a coarser grain and wheat is more refined, as we move to a more refined grain, we also try to refine ourselves during this time, using these divine attributes. The first of these traits, which corresponds with the first week of the Omer, is chesed. Chesed is often translated as loving kindness. Focusing on chesed during the Omer invites us to think about how we can expand our capacity for love, kindness, and grace. Throughout this year, for my rabbinic thesis, I have been studying chesed as part of a project exploring how congregations understand what it means to care for one another in community. Even as children, we are taught of chesed as one of Judaism's core values. I grew up singing Al Shlosha Devarim, words from Pirkei Avot that teach that the 3 pillars of the world are Torah, Avodah, worship, and Gmilut Chasadim, acts of loving kindness. It's clear that we know that kindness and care are important, but perhaps taking the opportunity to reflect on chesed during the Omer, we can consider more deeply what chesed really means or looks like in our lives and communities. One of the first things that became clear to me in studying chesed in our sacred texts was that chesed is understood as a divine attribute, something that God does. When we recited Psalms during Passover, we said many times, Ki leolam chasto, God's chesed is eternal. On the high holidays, we chant God's attributes, and chesed is the only attribute listed twice, a double mention of God's abundant loving kindness. One Talmudic passage describes moments from Torah when God exhibits acts of chesed, visiting the sick, comforting the mourner, and burying the dead. Each of these comes with an instruction for us as well. So too should we bury our dead, comfort the mourners, and visit the sick. Just as God engages in Gemilut Chasadim, acts of loving kindness, so should we. Our texts are full of examples of humans engaging in acts of chesed too. From characters like Abraham, Rebecca, and Ruth, we see displays of great generosity, care for strangers, and above and beyond kindness. Our liturgy also reminds us of our responsibility to do acts of chesed. In our daily morning prayers, we find Elu Devarim, which Rabbi Fenster taught me can be understood as a job description for being human. It lists off what we need to do, which includes Gemilut Chasadim, as well as acts like welcoming guests, visiting the sick, rejoicing with the wedding couple, and accompanying the dead for burial. These acts are not only God's job, but they're our job too, to show up for one another with care and with love. And by engaging in acts of chesed, we have an opportunity to emulate God by caring for one another, really showing what it means to be created B'Tselem Elohim in the image of God. But chesed is not only related to God and to what it means to be human, but it's also core to what it means to be in community. In Rabbi Sherin Browse's book, The Amen Effect, she teaches of the importance of showing up for community framed through a Mishnah. This Mishnah describes an ancient pilgrimage when people would ascend to the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. In this story, people would enter the temple and circle through to the right. But anyone who had had something difficult happen to them, such as a loss or illness, would enter and circle to the left, in the other direction. When someone passed a person circling in the opposite direction, they would ask them, "Why do you circle left?" The person would answer, "I am in mourning. I've lost my job," or "I'm battling an illness." And the other would offer them words of comfort. Rabbi Browse teaches this Mishnah as an example of what it means to be in community. She writes, "Even as you step into community, you don't pretend that you're okay. You're not okay, which will be obvious to anyone who looks at you. You wear your troubles on the outside. The whole world moves seamlessly in one direction and you in another. And even still, you trust that you won't be marginalized, mocked, or misunderstood. In this place, you will be held, even at the ragged edge of life." Chesed is part of what holds us together as a community, showing up for each other with care and love in moments of joy and in sorrow. And chesed is the foundation of everything else we do here. If we want to live a robust kind of Judaism, if we want to go and make the world a better place, first we have to take care of each other. Being a community of care strengthens our community, our relationships, and each one of us. The mystical side of the Omer offers us this opportunity for introspection on both the personal level and the communal level. What could it look like to bring chesed closer to the forefront of our minds, to a more prominent place in our lives? How can we each expand our capacity for loving kindness and engage in acts of chesed in ways that are connective, thoughtful, and sustainable? And how can we strengthen chesed within our community? I know many in our community are already considering this, having relaunched Kol Ami Cares this year and recommitting to lay-led community care efforts. In speaking about chesed's role in the community, one more story comes to mind. A rabbi I spoke to in the process of writing my thesis shared with me that over the course of his long career, he sought to educate his community about caring for one another through his sermons, teachings, and interactions. When I asked him when he knew his efforts of educating about care were working, he shared one moment that stood out to him. As he was arriving at a shiva house, he saw a congregant standing outside the door. They said hello to one another, and then the congregant said to the rabbi, "Rabbi, when we get inside, could you point out to me who the mourner is?" The rabbi was puzzled. "You don't know them?" "No," the congregant replied, "I just thought it was the right thing to do to be here." In that moment, the rabbi knew that his teaching was paying off, and the community was coming to understand what it means to show up for one another. As we move through this journey of reflection towards revelation, may we embrace our capacity for chesed as both individuals and as a community.